Brought to you by the University of Alaska Fairbanks, Department of Social Work, and the Conscious Party Productions. You are listening to The Critical Social Worker, a revolutionary storytelling podcast.
A conscious party.
Revolutionizing our minds.
Elevating our consciousness.
Changing our worlds.
Your story.
My story.
Our story.
Let me ask you one quick question, because I remember when I was an undergraduate student, and then even as a master's student, that word neoliberal or neoliberalism kept coming up, and I was like, what does that mean? Because we have I think at least here in the United States, we have this idea of what liberal means, and often it's misguided at this point. It's changed. So what do you mean when you say neoliberal?
Yeah, thanks for asking me to kind of expand that a bit more, because I think one of the dangers may be that some of us perhaps band around terms like that in a way which suggests so everyone knows what we mean, whereas often it's a bit obscure, isn't it? I do a class, for example, with MA students specifically on neoliberalism, and my kind of starting point for looking to explain it in more detail is perhaps a slightly odd place, because I start with a former and deceased Pope, and that was Pope John Paul II. Perhaps not renowned as one of the most progressive popes, but he actually described neoliberalism as a form of savage capitalism. And I think that is a useful kind of foundation to build a more detailed definition on. One can go further and talk about how neoliberalism is about a reshaping of the state. It's about transferring wealth, resources to the higher echelons in societies, those who I would not hesitate to refer to as the ruling class. So we see great disparities evolving in neoliberal societies between the super rich and mostly the rest of the population to different degrees. Maybe we can associate neoliberalism as well with a range of other factors, more kind of policing of those who are claiming what used to be called here Social Security and now is often Americanized as welfare. Those are claiming welfare, more surveillance of behavior and so on, more kind of conditionality. You will get this payment if you behave in this kind of way and so on. So maybe a more kind of authoritarian society as well. That is perhaps part of the picture in terms of neoliberal society. And I guess on that point as well, just to tag on, if I may, I think there's a number of writers who've suggested one of the often unexplored facets of neoliberalism, of this type of savage capitalism, is a tremendous increase in the number of people who are in prison. And again, this is often highly racialized, with a disproportionate number of kind of black and brown bodies behind bars. So again, I've kind of introduced quite a lot into that answer, haven't I? But I'm hoping I'm better explaining than I did when I simply threw out this word neoliberalism, Christian.
Yeah, I think you did a great job at breaking it down and making it accessible for us. And it's one of those terms that there's no, perfect or easy way to, start discussing the subject. So I appreciate that. This episode was recorded live on Wednesday, April 17th, 2024. This episode featured Dr. Paul Michael Garrett, and it was hosted by Christian Ace Stetler. Brought to you by the University of Alaska Fairbanks, Department of Social Work. This has been a Conscious Party production. You've been listening to The Critical Social Worker, a revolutionary storytelling podcast. Your story, my story, our story. All right, until next time, everybody, keep being revolutionary. Peace.